Welcome back to the Bad Influence podcast where we keep things raw, real, and unfiltered. Today's topic is a heavy one, but I know it's something many of you need to hear right now. It's a question I asked myself a long time ago. And the question is, how come you don't enjoy being yourself? That's a good question, right? But think about it for a second. Just think about it. When was the last time you were genuinely, unapologetically you and felt good about it? When was the last time that happened? Was it yesterday? A week ago? A month ago? A year ago? 5 years ago? 10 years ago? When did that happen? When was the last time that happened? The reason why I want to talk about this is because I have noticed that many of you struggle with this, just like I did a few years ago. You're constantly putting on masks, trying to fit into roles that society, your families, or your peers have assigned you. And in the process, guess what happens? You lose the joy of just being yourself. That's what happened with me. But why is that? Why is it so hard to simply be who we are and enjoy it? Right? Because in today's society, you're going to be criticized, you're going to be told to conform, you're going to be told so many things that are going to dim your light. And I don't think it's fair for you or your family or anybody around you. And look, I get it. I've been there. I've been in that place where you feel like you're living someone else's version of your life. And it's not a good place to be. Whether it's trying to live up to your family's expectations, society's image of the perfect man or the perfect woman, or just following what you think others want from you, in the end, it's not good. It's draining. And eventually, you get to a point where you don't even recognize yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror. So, if you've ever asked yourself, why don't I enjoy being who I am? This episode is for you. Because what we're going to do, we're going to break it down. We'll talk about why so many of you feel disconnected from your true self, how you end up in these roles you don't even want, and most importantly, how to break free and start enjoying being the real you. So, buckle up because this one will hit close to home. So, why is it so hard to enjoy being yourself? One of the fucking biggest reasons is that from an early age, sometimes as soon as you come out of the womb, we're taught to conform. Right? And think about it. When you were a kid, how often were you told to act a certain way, dress a certain way, or think a certain way? Maybe you were like me, growing up under the pressure of someone else's fucking expectations. And that's the first major issue. Because when you're constantly told to conform, to be something you're not, you start to feel fucking disconnected from yourself. You're not longer living your own life. You're living someone else's version of what they think your life should be. And after a while, you forget who you are, what makes you tick, and what makes you happy. You become more focused on pleasing others than pleasing yourself. And that's where the disconnect happens. Because you're always expecting to make someone else happy and not yourself. Another reason why you might not enjoy being yourself is fear. We live in a world where being different or standing out can make you a target. Maybe you're afraid that if you really let people see the real you, they won't like it. You're worried about judgment, rejection, or criticism. So, instead of showing up as your true self, you hide behind a mask. You play it safe. But here's the thing. Living a life that's not yours just to avoid criticism is no way to live at all. Might as well don't go outside and don't live your life because you're not gonna do anything that you like. I remember when I moved to the States, to the USA, my life completely changed. In Mexico, I had no supervision and no one telling me what to do or how to live my life. I was free to be myself from a very young age. My mom was never there. So I had no adult supervision. I could do literally whatever the fuck I wanted. My mom wasn't at home most of the day, so I could go out with friends out in the streets, just do whatever the fuck I want. She never knew. She thought I was at home when she was somewhere else. But everything changed when I moved here. Everything flipped. My uncle, okay, check this out. This is what I'm talking about. My uncle, who was supposed to be helping me, who was supposed to be my role model, turned into my biggest critic. He told me I had to conform, that I couldn't be myself because it will embarrass the family. Sure, I did embarrass the family multiple times, just by being myself. But I couldn't dress how I wanted, talk the way I wanted, or even ask the questions I was curious about. He basically told me that being myself was a failure, and if I wanted to succeed, I had to follow his way. I had to be a good boy, a good student. I was expected to fit into this mold that wasn't me, and it made me feel like I had to show off who I really am, the loud, obnoxious Mexican that I am. That was one of the most difficult periods of my life. I felt like I had to fit into this version of myself that wasn't real. And it wasn't just with him, my uncle. It was with society too. Everywhere I turned, I felt like there were expectations of how I should act, what I should do, and who I should be. I didn't fit in and I felt lost. I didn't enjoy being myself because I didn't even know who that was anymore. I looked at myself in the mirror and I didn't recognize myself. But the fucking turning point came when I met my wife. She was the first person who truly allowed me to be myself. She didn't try to change me or make me fit into some pre-made mold. Instead, and this is what society should do with people, she was curious about who I really was. She wanted to know what made me tick, what made me happy, and what made me, well, me. And through her questions and support, I started to remember who I was before all the expectations, before all the pressure to conform. I started to reclaim my identity thanks to her. Because she was like, I want you to be yourself. Sure, I will say things off the cuff that will come up as rude, but she was able to understand that I was just expressing myself just like I am. Not rude, but just like, here you go. This is my form of expression. Take it or leave it. She helped me refine it as well. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but slowly I began to let go of all the fucking false versions of myself that I'd built up to please others. And as I did, I realized that the real me, the curious, outspoken, unique me, was worth enjoying. That's when everything changed. I started to embrace who I was, know who the world expected me to be. And let me fucking tell you, and I want you to understand this, that freedom is something I want every single one of you to experience, because it's such an amount of freedom that you're like, wow. It literally feels like the chains have been released, that the chains have been broken free. It's amazing. It's hard to explain sometimes. So, how do you go from not enjoying yourself to fully embracing and enjoying who you are? Well, the first step is to recognize where the disconnect comes from. Ask yourself, whose expectations are you living up to? Is it your family's, your friends, society's? The first step in reclaiming your identity is identifying where you've been compromising yourself to make others fucking happy. It's true, it helped me. So you might have to do this if you want to reclaim your true identity. Because once you know where that pressure is coming from, you can start to break free. You can start taking action. You can start doing the work to find yourself. Next, give yourself permission to be curious about who you really are. I know that sounds simple. It truly does. But it's something a lot of you forget to do. After years of trying to fit in, you might have lost touch with the things that make you happy. If you're a learner, you stop learning. If you're adventurous, you stop looking for adventure. Stuff like that. So you have to reclaim that identity. So ask yourself the tough questions. What do I actually enjoy doing? What makes me feel alive? What do I believe in? What do I want for myself? Not what others want for me. This process takes time, but it's essential for rediscovering yourself. It took me years. So I've been married 10 years. And I would say that I was able to find myself within the last 3 to 4 years, and I've been refining it. Another critical step is surrounding yourself with people who allow you to be yourself, just like my wife did for me. Find those people who celebrate your uniqueness, who encourage you to ask the tough questions, and who don't try to box you into a version of yourself that isn't real, just so they don't feel uncomfortable. I hate that. Right now, we live in a fucking society. We work with people, we hang out with people, we interact with people that put you in a box because you're too loud, you're too extroverted, and they don't fucking like it, and they get triggered all the time. Now, this kind of people that let you be yourself, this support is key. Because it's hard to enjoy being yourself if you're constantly surrounded by people who don't accept you. They'll try to label you as weird, loud, rude, or just shut you down because they don't like you. They'll put you in a box. They'll put you in that fucking box that you don't deserve to be in. Another thing that you need to do is practice self-compassion. You have spent years, maybe decades, living up to someone else's expectations. So it's not easy to just flip a switch and suddenly love everything about yourself. No, it took me years to get to this point. But by being patient and kind to yourself, you'll find that over time, you start to reconnect with the real you. And once you do that, you can start to enjoy who you are, even with your flaws and everything that makes you you. I know a few of you, or maybe a lot of you, or all of you, might be thinking, but what if people don't like the real me? And that's a valid fear. I ask myself that same question. But let me ask you this. Are you really living if you're constantly trying to make everyone else happy at the expense of your own happiness? The truth is, not everyone is going to like you, and that's okay. You're going to have haters. You're going to have people that just because your extroverted persona triggers them, they're going to try to shut you down. They're going to try to do so many things. They're going to talk shit. They're going to do so many things. I have gone through this with a lot of people. But guess what? You're not here to live someone else's life. You're here to live yours. And the people who truly matter, the people who are meant to be in your life, will love you for exactly who you are, not the version of yourself you create to please them. No, they will push you to be yourself because they want to get to know the real you. I spent years of my fucking life trying to live up to other people's expectations and other people's standards, and it was exhausting. I wasn't happy, I wasn't fulfilled, and I definitely wasn't enjoying being myself. I didn't enjoy it. But once I started living for me, once I started asking myself what I wanted out of life, that's when everything changed. The weight lifted off my shoulders, and I began to enjoy being myself in a way I never thought possible. And I want you to experience that. The freedom that comes from fucking embracing who you are is something you can't find anywhere else. It's not material success. It's not the approval of others. And it's definitely not in trying to fit into someone else's expectations. It's in being unapologetically you. And when you start living that way, life becomes so much more enjoyable. You'll do the things that you want to do in life. You won't care if people get triggered by you, by just you walking into a room, by you asking a question, by you expressing the way that you express yourself. Because if somebody gets triggered by you being yourself, if that person doesn't understand where you're coming from, they'll ask you. If that person doesn't ask you where you're coming from, then the problem is them. Because they already made a version of you that they don't like, just because of whatever the fuck you say. So, if you're sitting there wondering why you don't enjoy being yourself, it's time to make a change then. It's time to stop living for everyone else and start living for you. Because once you do, I promise you, you'll start enjoying life in ways you never imagined. Now, let's get into some practical steps you can take to start enjoying being yourself again. First, start by setting boundaries. If there are people in your life who constantly pressure you to be someone you're not, it's time to set some firm boundaries. That might mean limiting time with them or being clear about what you're willing to do and what you're not. Remember, it's your life, not theirs. Don't allow anybody to tell you how to be, how to live, and how you should act because of them. Second, reconnect with the things that make you happy. What are the activities, hobbies, or interests that make you feel like yourself? Maybe it's something you haven't done in years. Or maybe it's something you've always wanted to try but never had the courage to pursue. A lot of people have actually gone through this. The best case about this is Mama Moses. Look her up. She started painting in her 80s, I think. And she became famous because of that. In her 80s. So now's the time to dive into those things. When you do, you'll start to feel more like yourself again. You start to like yourself. You start to enjoy yourself. You start to do so many things that you like. And third, challenge the negative thoughts that tell you you're not enough. This might be one of the hardest steps, but it's crucial. We all have that inner voice that criticizes us, tells us we're not good enough, or makes us doubt ourselves. But here's the truth. That voice is fucking lying. You are enough, exactly as you are. And the more you challenge those negative thoughts, the quieter that voice becomes. I cannot tell you how good this feels when you quiet that voice. So surround yourself with people who love you for who you are, not who they want you to be. Find your tribe, the people who accept you unconditionally and encourage you to be yourself. These people are priceless, and they'll make the journey to enjoying yourself so much easier. Because everyone, in my opinion, deserves to enjoy being themselves. Life is too short to live as someone else. Let's be honest about that, right? It's time to take back control, reconnect with who you are, and start living authentically. The road to enjoying yourself isn't always easy, but it's worth it. And once you get there, you'll realize that life is so much richer, so much fulfilling when you're living as the real you. So I need you to stop hiding behind the mask. I need you to stop trying to fit into a mold that wasn't made for you. I need you to start embracing who you are, your quirks, your flaws, and all. Because when you do, that's when the magic happens. That's when you start to enjoy being yourself and living the life you were meant to be. You're going to start questioning the actions of others towards you because you're not going to start liking how you're being treated. And sure, people are not going to like this as well. But guess what? You're doing this for you. You're doing this for your family. You're doing this for the betterment of your life. So don't allow anybody to shut you down whenever you decide to take this journey to reclaim your true self. Go out there, practice with your friends, practice with your family, do whatever you need to do to get to this point. Because when you do, oh boy, everything changes. Everything will change. Your life will change because you're going to start doing intentional things for your life. Things that are actually going to change your life, your family's lives, and maybe even other people's lives. And it all starts with embracing who you are. And that's it for today. Thank you for joining me on the Bad Influence podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need a reminder that they are enough just as they are. Let's continue to spread the message that being yourself is not only okay, it's the best way to live. Until next time, keep pushing forward, stay true to yourself, and remember, you are enough, and have a great day.